Welcome back everyone to another episode of Cruising with Carla. Today we're checking out my girl, Lucy. She's a 1956 Monarch Lucerne two-door coupe.
For those of you wondering whether or not we got this car on the road in 30 days, yes we did.
Alright guys, we're going to take a peek underneath the hood of this gorgeous 1956 Monarch Lucerne. Where is she? Where is she? There she is! Up we go! This is a 351 Cleveland with the 4-barrel carburetor. Some of the things that we did in order to bring this back to life was, as usual, we changed the spark plugs, we've flushed the engine, the entire engine, the water pump, the radiator, freshened it, all the pulleys, the fans, painted everything up. Once we sandblasted them, we also put in a new battery. We've rewired, and by we I mean Graham, because my electrical knowledge is quite low, but we rewired all the wiring to the starter. Right, Graham? What was happening to the starter?
Oh, that's right, Carla. Well, it wasn't.
Or sorry, the coil.
It wasn't the starter,
That's
Carla.
right.
It was the coil.
Right here.
And what happens is, back up in the wiring in here, someone had actually taken electrical tape and twisted wires together. So the car would run and then it would die, and then it would run and would die. So actually, the first time we really drove it, I actually had to take a jumper wire and run it all the way from the battery around the engine bay and over to the ignition coil.
That's right.
To keep the car running. So that was a lot of fun.
So one of the other things that we had to do on the car, because actually that the right front wheel was locked up. It was completely seized up. So one of the biggest things for me was getting this thing safety, because it actually had to go on the cruise for a celebration of life. So one of the things we did is put in a new master brake cylinder. And the switch, is that
Yeah, that's your brake switch.
Brake switch, and making sure that this thing was going to be able to stop, because it has so much power. This baby cruises so fast. In fact, it's terrifying how quickly it goes. So I wanted to make sure that at least we had braking system somewhat working for that cruise. Right, Graham?
That's right, Carla.
One of the things that we've noticed is that the valve cover gaskets are leaking a bit. So I would like to pull them out, maybe get new valve covers. What do you think, Graham?
Oh yeah, some nice aluminum valve covers, I think, to seal them up. Right now, it's leaking onto the exhaust a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. You can smell it sort of when we're cruising. So I'd like to pull that off. We'd like to rebuild the carburetor as well, as it's sat for 25 years. Surprisingly, still works incredibly decent, but I would like to rebuild that. I would like to take the intake manifold and clean that up and paint it as well, just so we can spiff things up. You'll also notice on the alternator, it needs a little love. So I would like to take the alternator apart as well and paint that, freshen that up. We also have the heater core, which is right in behind over here by the firewall. So this is your air ventilation and your heating, you know, for those cold Canadian cruising days. So that'll be another thing that we'd like to do and upgrade.
Tell me about what this copper line is here. Did you put that in?
Right, so that's the oil gauge. You know, I guess you got to make sure that these things are well oiled or lubed up. So I think that was one of Graham's doing, because I don't remember installing that thing. Graham, was that you?
Yeah, that was me. So
Yeah.
we wanted to reuse the original gauges that Brian had with the car. So we had to reroute a new oil line, because the original one was a cheap plastic line. So we were able to route that back.
Yeah, we tried to keep the car as much in original shape as Brian would have had it. And so in a moment here, when we go inside, you'll see some of the gauges, some of the knobs, and yeah, trying to keep as much as he would have had on it, but also add some improvements to it and things that I know he would have been proud of.
Now we will walk you through the process on how we restored this engine.
Step one is going to be to empty the radiator fluid and remove all the hoses so that we can get new ones. I got a couple containers here. We'll see if maybe I can try start it with this little one. There we go. She's coming up pretty free now. This is fun. This is relaxing. This car was supposed to have been restored in the 90s. So, you know, underneath the carriage, it actually looks not too bad. It doesn't have any undercoating on it, so just whatever paint was done on there. So that's actually pretty good.
Now that we have the radiator drained, we're going to remove it from the car and flush it with water.
Oh yeah, look at that. Gross. Good thing we're doing this, eh? Wow. Okay, so show us how clean that liquid is now from there. Just slosh it around. There we go. It's all cleaned up. Good job. Looks like we can put it back in. What do you think?
Carla approved.
Carla approved? All right, Graham, what's the plan here?
Flush some water through the cooling system.
Okay.
Okay,
Graham and I have taken the engine partially apart. I have washed the engine bay area. We had to take the water pump out as well as the thermostat, which goes right in here, housing, and just going through everything. I'll show you the water pump. It was in really bad shape, so I'm actually really glad that we took it out and got a new one. And yeah, if I get enough time, I would like to actually sand down the sides, all of it, and repaint the black on both sides, but I'm not sure if we'll have enough time to get it done before the celebration of life. Here I'm sanding down the passenger side inner fender well and spraying it with epoxy primer. Here you can see the passenger side has been painted with epoxy primer, and the driver's side is now ready for paint. Now I am painting the driver's side with epoxy primer. Now that the engine bay area is fully prepped and sealed, I am going to hit it with a final coat of color. Remember, kids, if you keep watching the internet, you'll learn that you can do an entire full car restoration in less than 20 minutes.
Come on, Carla, that's not true. Stay off the paint fumes and get back to work.
so Carla, the other thing is the car goes, the car stops. But you know what I like to do a lot of when we're driving around?
Honking.
Honk at people, that's right.
This guy honks every minute he gets the chance, so...
We had to replace the horns. You can see back in there, we had to put a new horn relay in. And there's also a relay up there for the electric fan. And the horns, they're way down in front here. Not sure if we can see them. Maybe not. Oh, you can kind of see them through the grill there.
They're brand new, state-of-the-art. And in the front, you'll see these gorgeous... Here, let me just drop the hood, because it just looks amazing. Like, I love these lights. And we'll show you here in a second. I'll turn the lights on so that you can see them. They just look spectacular. All right, folks, now that I've shown you what's under the hood, we're gonna go inside and take a look at the interior. Come on. So as you can see, we have a gorgeous interior. Of course, there's a few really neat things about this car. Number one, the interior. Brian told me this was a Tijuana custom interior. I think somebody had driven down to Mexico somewhere and had actually this custom done. I guess this was something that they used to do back in the old days. Guys would just drive down there and get their custom interior work done because it was so much cheaper. So apparently that's what it's called, Tijuana interior, I guess. Also, what you can see here is we put in these brand new door sills. Now, these are 4 door sills, as you can see by the emblem. And again, we had 30 days crunch time, so that's all I could find, and that's what we put in there. We put brand new carpeting and floor mats. These are custom-made door cards, which Graham and I made. We had very little time.
Looks like we still need some handles to pull them shut there, Carla.
Well, look at this. We kind of missed that. That was a bit dodgy, but we don't even have the armrest. But, you know, you just use it this way and it works. Again, for 30 days, this is all we could do. Then we got the kick panels as well. Those, I think, came out a little bit better. There they are, the kick panels. And a custom console for a stereo.
All right, so this stereo console, Carla and I built together. It's got a tack and the original oil gauge and temperature gauge that Brian was running. And we also got a Kenwood deck in there. We've got some 5.5-inch speakers up front. And then back in the rear deck, we put some 6x9s, and there's also a couple of 12-inch subs in the rear for some boom boom, Carla.
Oh yes, the boom boom. And what's really neat is the clock actually still works. You can sort of see it here. Can you zoom in, Graham? And look at that. It still works, which I think is pretty amazing. And all our gauges as well work on the dash. So one of the other things that we had to do, aside from doing the door cards, the car was in pretty rough shape because it had sat for so long. So the first thing we did, we took the whole interior out, and I was able to access the floors, and we literally sanded down the entire car floors. We then hit it with POR 15 so that the rust would be prevented from getting any further. We then installed some sound deadening hush mat, it's called, and on top of that, then we bought and purchased this brand new carpet. We installed the door sills. What else was done on the interior?
Wow, Carla, the other thing I had to do was the driver's seat was in pretty rough shape.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually had to do some welding in the frame there to hold it together, because otherwise it would flip over backwards on us.
Yeah. I guess Brian had a little more weight than us, you know, so this car was well used and well loved. Yeah, so one more thing I remember was the wiring. Graham, tell folks a little bit about the wiring, because it was chaotic in there, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the wiring in this car was in pretty rough shape. I mean, you can still see a couple wires hanging down now, but it was an absolute rat's nest under there. I mean, lots of the wiring was put together with black tape, and I mean, we actually ended up swapping out the fuse panel for an aftermarket blade one. Still needs lots of cleanup, but at least right now it is safe to drive.
We also installed some super bright LED dash lights. Look at those things glow. It really makes a difference at night when we're cruising down the road.
All right, and just so you guys can see, whoa, I'm going the wrong way. It does work. Everything works. Old school, arm strength. But yeah, this interior in the back is just gorgeous. Here we go, here we go. So the one thing I love about this car is actually how low it sits. So yeah, I mean, she's a pretty low seat. It's definitely a cruiser. And of course, I have my buddy's hat. This was Brian's hat, and he comes with me on all the cruises. Wherever we go car hunting, he's there with us. And yeah.
Into the back seat here. So the back seat, Carla did a great job getting that Tijuana special interior all cleaned up. I mean, it's just beautiful. And she also spent hours scrubbing the headliner, didn't you, Carla?
Oh yeah, and I can see, you know what, still needs a little bit more work in the back, but look at this front headliner. Like, it is just stunning, gorgeous, the stitching work. But it could still use a little bit more scrubbing. Again, it sat for 25 years, so it's expected. But overall, the car looks amazing.
Now, we'll walk you through the process on how we restored the interior. Looks like she starts with a couple carpet scraps. She's moved on to the rear seats, taking the top part out, then the bottom, and on to the front seat. Man, that thing was heavy.
All right, let's take a look. Rusty, rusty, rusty. It looks like there's been some water in here, or at least moisture, and hence all that surface rust that we see. So the goal will be to start sanding the floors, getting rid of all the surface rust, the fuzzies from the carpet glue, and applying some POR 15. Let's get to it. Okay, so here are the floors, and as you can see, I tried to get rid of as much of the fuzzies that were there from the carpet and the glue, and also all the rusted, the top rust that was in the areas. And I'm going to apply POR 15 anyhow, so that will prevent from further rusting until I can do a full restoration of this car.
That looks great. Now let's see Carla tackle the headliner. Looks like Carla has her work cut out for her. This thing looked pretty nasty. Bunch of molds. I don't know what else in there. Probably some weird smells. But as you can see, this thing turned out amazing.
And now, on to the seats. All right, time to clean these seats. I'm going to try using some spray 9, scrub her down, and then rinse off and see how this comes out.
What do you have to say for yourself, Carla?
Finally, the floor is done. Well, sort of. We still got carpet coming and soundproof matting. The back, still got to install the carpet and got to make the door panels. I got to clean those tips, but she sounds good. And we still have to ground and put in the stereo system.
The carpet finally came. We got the underlay installed, glued down, and man, this color is awesome.
So a couple of things that we needed to do to make sure this baby was safe is we installed a new master brake cylinder. We also installed new wheel cylinders, new brake shoes to each of the wheels, as well as new flexible brake lines.
So we actually had to replace the front section of the cable because the first time I went to pull it, it came out in my hand. So we replaced it down into the center, and it still didn't quite work. And when I was underneath, I was pulling on the cable, and I managed to free up the e-brake. Oh, I think it was the driver's or passenger side.
Passenger side, well, yeah. Anyways, I remember that we had to replace the front. They actually don't make the replacements for the rear. But the rear one actually turned out to be quite fine, so we lucked out on that part. And last but not least, we took care of those old crusty brakes. We removed the front, the rears, we sanded down the brake drums, painted them, completely disassembled all the braking systems and painted everything we could, installed new shoes, as well as new wheel cylinders and brake lines.
So these tires, Carla, I want to talk about these tires. So the original tires that came with this car were old bias fly that it was pretty much like driving on frickin' marshmallows.
Well, and they were twice the size of these ones. Like, they were quite wide. I think they were 265s, if I'm not mistaken. So they were super wide, big, wide white walls as well. And I was terrified that they were actually going to explode on the day of our ride. So I said to Graham, we need to get new tires. And somehow we ended up calling his cousin, who happened to have these tires kicking around. So on the day of the event, we actually drove up, stopped in Parksville, picked these tires up, and then as we're parking at the event, we're literally switching tires at the event 20 minutes before the day of Brian's celebration. So that was pretty epic, literally till last minute, washing the cars and getting the tires on. It was right down to the wire, but we managed to do it.
And you can see they're pretty skinny tires. So with that Cleveland, pretty good burnouts, hey, Carla?
Yeah, Graham likes to squeal them, so, but that's what Brian would have liked, so.
Thank you to everyone who came out and joined us in celebrating Brian's life. The turnout, the support, the shared stories meant more than we can put into words. A special thank you to those who took part in his final cruise, with his crown jewel leading the pack and his Monarch bringing up the rear. It truly was a powerful and unforgettable tribute.
And from the bottom of our hearts, thank you to everyone who helped us bring Lucy back to life. Your time, effort, and dedication made it possible for her to be a part of this very special moment. And that means everything to us.
Squeeze him, squeeze him! Load him up, load him up! Nicely done!
This wasn't just about a car. This was about honoring my friend and mentor, Brian, his legacy, his passions, and a life truly well lived. You'll be dearly missed by all of those whose lives you touched, but you'll never be forgotten. Till we cruise again. See you later, Brian.
Thanks for joining us on Cruising with Carla. If you made it this far, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
And that's how Brian would have driven it.
Carla, she's the smart one.